Welcome to the stream, everyone. Hopefully the sound is all right. I'm really not sure what to do ahead of game week 5, to be honest. FPL Lisa, I know I'm a bit late. Sorry about that. Simon Limo, hey there. Thanks for joining in. Let me know if you have any questions ahead of game week 5. I have a couple of question marks in my team. I have actually a couple of injuries. Both Fabian Schär and Sar, they are both injured. My plan has always been to bench boost in game week 5, but I think I can handle at least Sar and Schär with my 2 free transfers, but I'm not really a Elanga fan ahead of game week 5. He started midweek in Champions League, so I think Elanga will be benched. So I will probably have to abandon the bench boosts chip this game week as well. I have been waiting. Yeah, I saw your comment. I'm really sorry. I said 1930, but game week 5 is the worst. I kind of agree. I was really looking forward to game week 5, to be honest, but I don't really like my team ahead of the next game week. I have 2 free transfers. At the moment, I'm actually just leaning towards benching Elanga, starting Rodon, and saving my transfer, to be honest. Simon Limo, where are you from? I'm from Norway, actually. So if you're interested, head over to X, post a picture of your team ahead of game week 5, and I'll get it up on the screen for a discussion. Are you going to sell Sar and Elanga this game week? My plan was to sell Sar and Elanga and hit the bench boost button ahead of game week 5. So the initial plan was to sell both of them and bring in Josh King, the 4.5 Fulham midfielder, and Cole Palmer. This would mean a bench with King, Kudus, and Van de Ven, but with the injury to Fabian Schär and the fact that Elanga started midweek for Newcastle in the Champions League, I'm not really sure if Elanga will start in game week 5. So at the moment, I'm not that tempted to hit the bench boost button, to be honest. So I'm actually leaning towards just saving my bench boosts and playing the team on the screen. I like the fixture for Leeds as well. Rodon playing against Wolves. Leeds, they have actually been quite good defensively. And Rodon, he picked up defensive contribution points in game week 4 as well. So I might actually just go ahead and play 4-3-3 and save my transfer ahead of game week 5. I think it can be valuable having 3 free transfers going into game week 6 as well. I can potentially bring in a couple of Arsenal players into my team, so So you're gonna roll the transfer. I'm leaning towards it. I haven't really decided just yet, but like I'm tempted by Cole Palmer as well. One of the reasons why I'm really tempted to go ahead with the transfers is because if I bring in Cole Palmer, he would probably be my captain. I don't really have any good captain options this game week. No Haaland, he is in fine form, but playing away against Arsenal is probably the worst fixture all season, so I'm not that tempted by Erling Haaland this game week. So the captaincy is on Chris Wood at the moment, but I'm not really convinced about his minutes. So this is one of the reasons why it's really tempting to bring in Cole Palmer, but I'm leaning towards just saving a transfer, to be honest, at the moment. Because if I make those moves, as you mentioned, Elanga and Sar to Josh King and Cole Palmer, this would mean that I have to bench one of my defenders as well. And I don't really hate playing a back four this game week. Van de Ven, Porro, double up. Spurs, they have been really solid defensively, so not the worst thing to double up on their defense in game week 5. Williams, good fixture against Burnley, and as mentioned, I think that Rodon and Leeds have a good fixture against Wolves as well, so leaning towards just saving my transfer this game week and reassess and see what happens in game week 5. And have 3 free transfers going into game week 6. I think this makes sense, to be honest. Just use my squad this game week and delay the bench boost. So what's your plans ahead of game week 5, Simon? Are you going to make any transfers? I think at least if you have Mo Salah in your team, this is definitely the safest option. He will be probably, his effective ownership will probably be above 100 once again. So I haven't really been that impressed by Mo Salah so far this season, but too many injuries. Yeah, I just posted on X my injuries so far this season. So in game week 1, I was going to bench boost in game week 2, but the injury to Kansa made me delay my game week 2 bench boost. So Kansa, he got sent off in game week 1 and was suspended for game week 2. Too many injuries. I had both Saka and Cole Palmer. I think it was game week 3. Both of them got injured. Or was it? I think Saka, at least he played in game week 2, right? And he got injured in game week 2, if I... Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that Saka scored in the first half in game week 2. This was at home against Leeds. I had him as my captain, and he got injured early on in the second half, so kind of disappointing. He picked up like 6-7 points. 6 probably. And this forced me into a game week 3 wildcard. I haven't really regret that decision. My team has gotten green arrows since game week 1, so the game week 3 wildcard have done well, but at the same time, I've been a bit unlucky when it comes to injuries. I had Cunha, had to transfer him out. Sar as well. Really annoying that Sar injury in the same game week as Cunha. And before this game week, when my plan was to bench boost, I got another injury. Fabian Schär, late on in the Newcastle game, he had to leave the pitch, and it looks like he has a concussion, so he will probably miss a couple of game weeks. Matthias, thanks for joining in. Hi, I have Murillo, Porro, Konsa in my defense and Rodon as my first defensive sub. Would you make a transfer, for example, bringing in Lacroix for my second sub, defender Dorgu? I think that having Porro, Kansa, and Murillo probably is good enough, especially seeing that you have Rodon on your bench. I might actually just start Rodon this game week, so I definitely think that he is good enough to have on the bench. I think I would just save a transfer, to be honest. It kind of depends how many transfers you've got, but it's only game week 5, so if you used a couple of transfers already, I think it makes sense to just save the transfer and reassess after game week 5. I think that it will be valuable having a couple of transfers in the next couple of game weeks because there are a couple of fixture swings. We know that in game week 6, Arsenal, they have really good fixtures from game week 7 and onwards. So Man City from game week 6. I have Raya, Timber, Gyökeres and Reinders who to bench. Seeing you have Raya, I would probably just bench Timber, to be honest. Play Raya, bench Timber, and play the two other attacking players, Gyökeres and Reinders. So Reinders, I wasn't really a Reinders fan ahead of game week 1, but he's actually been quite good recently, even though he hasn't delivered FPL points. He should have scored last game week as well. I think that if Reinders scored against Man United, he would probably be 5.8 at this point. I have one transfer and will take her otherwise and save the transfer. Definitely, if you only have one free transfer, I think it's an easy save. Murillo, Porro, Kansa. I'm not 100% sure if Murillo will start, but having Rodon on save your transfer. I'm leaning towards saving my transfer as well. I have 2 free transfers, so I can potentially do something with Elanga, with Sar. The plan was initially to sell Sar and Elanga to bring in Josh King and Cole Palmer, but this means I would have to bench a decent player for game week 5, and to play the bench boost, I would have to sell Shad as well, and this would be for a -4, so that's not really tempting, taking a -4 to play the bench boost. I think this is kind of a waste, so I'll probably just wait a couple of more game weeks before activating my bench boost. Would you play Sanchez or Verbruggen? I would probably go Sanchez. Chelsea, they are the best defense out of the two, and when we consider their opponent as well, I think that Spurs have done well, looked good, and they will probably score against Brighton. While on the other hand, Man United, they are struggling at the moment. They can potentially score against Chelsea, of course, but I think that Chelsea, they are favorites in this game, while Verbruggen, I think they will struggle against Spurs. So definitely start Sanchez. I think that in 50-50 decisions like this, I'm not really sure if this is a 50-50 decision. It's more like a 70-30 for Sanchez, but when it's really close, it feels better to play the most expensive player as well, because if you have the most expensive player in your starting 11 and the cheapest player does well on the bench, this is not that painful. But if you're trying to be smart, play the cheap option and bench your most expensive player, it's really, really hard to I think the sound got muted again. Really sorry about that. So something wrong with, I don't think it's a microphone, something wrong with the cable. So I changed the cable. It was a bit better last week compared to 2 weeks ago, but so far on this stream, 20 minutes, I've already been muted twice, but let's see how it goes. I have Bruno Fernandes. That's why I'm considering for Bruggen. So this kind of changes it for me, to be honest. Seeing that you have Bruno Fernandes, I would be tempted to play for Bruggen, especially if you don't have any Spurs attackers. I'm usually not a fan of playing my attacking players against my defenders, because most of the time they are canceling each other out. So if Bruno Fernandes blanks, this can be good for Sanchez, but if Bruno Fernandes does well in game week 5, Sanchez will probably have a blank. So seeing that you have Bruno Fernandes, this would probably edge it for me, and I would probably go Bruggen, even though on paper Sanchez has the better fixture. Who would you captain between Chris Wood, Semenyo, and Joe Pedro? So between Chris Wood and Joe Pedro, I would probably go Chris Wood, mostly because of the penalties and the fixture. I know Burnley, they have done well when we consider their defense so far, but when we take a look at the stats, they are one of the worst teams when we take a look at expected goals and shots on target conceded, big chances against them. Burnley, they haven't conceded that many goals, but I think at some point that they will struggle, and maybe this will be against Nottingham Forest in game week 5. And Chris Wood, I think he will start. He was rested in the midweek, so I would probably go Chris Wood. Semenyo, decent option as well, but Newcastle, on the other hand, I said that Burnley were one of the worst defensive teams, but Newcastle, they are actually one of the best defensive teams so far, only beaten by Arsenal. So I would probably just go Chris Wood. So one of the reasons why I'm not 100% sure about Chris Wood myself is because of the minutes. Hi mate, Pero Porro or Milenkovic this week. Tough call as Brighton will probably score, but don't trust Nottingham Forest to keep a clean sheet. This is a tough call. Pedro Porro, both attacking. So Porro, he in preseason and the first couple of game weeks, Pedro Porro took most of the set pieces. So I really liked Pedro Porro. I brought him in on my game week 3 wildcard, but in game week 4, I watched the Spurs game. Wasn't really that impressed by Pedro Porro, to be honest. He wasn't like bombing down that right-hand side, and he wasn't taking corners, free kicks anymore. Xavi Simons, the new signing, took most of the set pieces. So I would actually lean towards starting Milenkovic ahead of Pedro Porro, but really close call. What's the better captain between Mido Gaming? What's the best captain? I need a couple of names to give an answer. Saka coming back. Saka, he has been training with Arsenal. Can potentially get some minutes, but I don't really see Saka starting in game week 5. I think this is a bit too early for Bukayo Saka, so no Saka for me in game week 5. My plan has changed this evening. Actually, my initial plan was to bench boost in game week 5, sell Sar, sell Elanga to bring in Josh King and Cole Palmer, but at the moment we got the news about Fabian Schär and his injury. He will probably miss a couple of game weeks due to concussion, so to play my bench boost I would need to take a -4, and I'm not really tempted to take a hit this game week. The easiest option for me and what I'm really leaning towards at the moment is just to start Rodon, bench Elanga, just keep Schär and Sar one more game week. What's the very captain option between Watkins, Gibbs White, Joe Pedro, Chris Wood? Elanga might not start. Definitely, I think he will not start, and I've talked with a couple of Newcastle fans as well, and they're all saying the same, that Elanga will most probably be started. Elanga started in the Champions League, Murphy on the bench, so most predicted Newcastle starting 11s have Murphy on the right and Elanga on the bench. Voltmade, he will start as their number 9, and Barnes will probably be on the left. So this is one of the reasons why I'm tempted to sell Elanga. My planned transfers was actually to sell both Elanga and Sar to bring in Josh King and Cole Palmer. So if I go through with those moves, I would probably captain Cole Palmer, but at the moment I'm leaning towards just saving my transfer, having 3 free transfers going into game week 6, and just play Rodon for the decent fixture against Wolves in game week 5. Leeds, they have been quite good defensively, so hopefully Rodon can pick up a clean sheet. But back to Mario Gaming's question, who's the better captain between Watkins, Gibbs White, Joe Pedro, and Chris Wood? I think out of those, Wood is probably the better option. So Gibbs White playing in the same team. He's a big punt, problem with Gibbs White is that he's not on penalties, so another positive with Gibbs White is, of course, that I think he will play more minutes compared to Wood. I can see Wood play 70, maximum 80 minutes. Joe Pedro is, of course, decent, but the fixture is a bit tougher. Watkins probably the best fixture out of the four, but Aston Villa, they have been really terrible so far, and I would probably just go Chris Wood, to be honest. I do have Haaland also. Would you consider captain him instead of Wood? So I have Haaland myself, but I'm not really tempted to captain Erling Haaland against Arsenal. We'll just get some stats up on the screen. Give me a minute. So ahead of every game week, I make a captain selection part in my team selection video where I take a look at the best captain options and their opponent. So Erling Haaland playing against Arsenal, it's not only that the fixture looks terrible on paper, at the same time Arsenal, they have been really solid defensively, as you can see on the screen at the moment. Last 4 game weeks they have kept 3 clean sheets, only conceded 1 goal. They actually have 0 big chances conceded, 12 shots on target, and an expected goal of 2.42. So really solid defensive stats for Arsenal. And one of the reasons why I'm not that tempted by Semenyo in game week 5 is the fact that when it comes to expected goals conceded, we can see that Arsenal, they are second. The best team is actually Newcastle, and we know that Newcastle, they are Bournemouth's opponent in game week 5. So I don't think that this is the game week to transfer in Semenyo, even though he is the most transferred in. I think there will be a couple of disappointments. I think there will be a couple of disappointed Semenyo owners in game week 5, and especially if you give him the captain's armband. The Infernal Avenger, after all my pondering between playing Chris Wood and Josh King for game week 4, and they both blanked bench boost time this week, wants to get it out of the way with 15 playing. Yeah, this was actually my plan as well, to play my bench boost. The initial plan was to play my bench boost in game week 2 to get it out of the way, as you say, but I got Kansa sent off in game week 1, so he was suspended in game week 2. I've been hit by injuries after playing my wildcard in game week 3. I had Cunha, Sar, and now Fabian Schär as well. Hopefully the curse of being the most transferred in player, I think that it's, when you consider the mentioned stats and Newcastle being one of the best defensive teams, the mentioned curse by FPL Lisa, it can occur in game week 5 as well. I wouldn't be that surprised to see Semenyo blank against Newcastle. Close to 1 million transfers in for Semenyo at the moment. Will probably be 1 million transfers ahead of the game, ahead of the deadline. Salah, he is the bookie's favorite for anytime goal scorer. 50%, Gyökeres 40, and Alexander Isak is actually next in line with 39. So let me know what you think in the chat. With this team on the screen, would you still be tempted to sell Elanga and Sar to bring in Cole Palmer? Or would you just save a transfer and play Rodon? This is my decision to make ahead of the deadline. I'm really leaning towards just playing Rodon and having 3 free transfers for game week 6. Do you think Joao Pedro is a good captain this game week? I think that he's decent, but I had a look at Joao Pedro as well. He has actually been a bit lucky when it comes to FPL point scoring on 2 corners, so he hasn't really done this earlier in his career, scoring headers on set pieces, but he will start up front for Chelsea playing against Man United. We saw Erling Haaland score a brace against them last game week, so I don't think that Joao Pedro is a bad captain option, but as mentioned, I'm actually leaning towards Chris Wood, so I consider Chris Wood being a bit better than Joao Pedro this game week. One Ikwan, hi there. I'm captaining Anthony from Burnley since Forest defense are a mess at the moment. Just looking for differentials. Should I change? I have Gyökeres, Haaland, Semenyo, Paqueta or other candidates in my team. I think that game week 5 is a really, really good game week for a captain punt. So especially if you don't have Salah, he is the safest option. He will be the most captain player and his ownership will be probably above 100% effective ownership. So if you don't have Salah at the moment, I think that it's fine to just take a punt. Anthony, he has done well in a couple of games. I would actually consider going through with your Anthony punt. Will be really interesting to watch the Burnley Nottingham Forest game 1 if you go ahead with your Anthony captain punt. Really, really interesting. I really like him as a player as well. He's really good. You can see that he is a really good player. Passes the eye test. I can't really remember which game week I think he scored, was it 1 goal and 1 assist, or did he get a brace? It was like game week 2 or game week 3. Really good player. As you say, Nottingham Forest haven't really been that great defensively, so taking a punt on Anthony for game week 5 could probably be a really good move. I haven't really checked his ownership. Let's have a quick look. Anthony. 5.5. He actually has 24 points. Game week 2. By 1.4% of the managers. Big punt, but I kind of like it. As mentioned, I think game week 5 is a really good game week to take a captain punt. There will be spread around a lot of players, especially for the players that don't own Mo Salah. And one of the reasons is because Erling Haaland, he has probably what can be labeled as the toughest fixtures so far this season, probably for all of the season. And this is one of the reasons why I'm going Chris Wood this game week. Miguel Camilleri free hit game week 6, or Salah we hit to Haaland, Semenyo, and Phil Foden, or someone else. It's kind of hard to tell without knowing your whole team, to be honest, but I like those moves. I think that Erling Haaland is a better long-term option considering the form and the fixtures. So I would definitely like to have Haaland instead of Mo Salah. Semenyo is a really steady FPL asset at the moment and a really safe option considering his ownership as well. And Foden is definitely a big punt. But when you consider those players, Salah, Wirtz, and Guihu, I definitely think Haaland, Semenyo, and Foden are a better, much better trio, to be honest. So if you don't have any other injuries or suspensions for game week 6, I would probably save the free hit and do those moves, to be honest, especially if you have 3 free transfers and don't have to take a hit. Foden might not get minutes knowing Pep. This is the problem with Phil Foden. Not only Phil Foden, but most of those players, most of the Man City midfielders, I would say, they are huge minutes risks ahead of every game week. I have had a Foden a couple of times last season, and it's really frustrating when you go check the Man City starting 11 and Phil Foden is benched. I had Savinho at some point last season as well. Yeah, I will have 3 free transfers. So if you don't have any other issues in your team, I really like those moves ahead of game week 6. But definitely keep Salah. I would probably captain Mo Salah in game week 5 if if I owned him, but changing from Salah to Erling Haaland in game week 6, I think this is a really good idea. City players are always risky. I think that Erling Haaland probably is a safe option. Guardiola as well, but other than those two, I would expect some rotation at some point. Miguel, Camilleri, Sanchez, Dubravka, Anderson, Porro, Richards, Williams, Esteve. In midfield, Salah, Wirtz, Bruno Fernandes, Kudus, Dewsbury Hall, Watkins, Mateta, and Guihu. I can see the temptation in those transfers, especially if you still haven't used your bench boost. So if you don't get any injuries, I would probably do those moves and play my bench boost for game week 6, to be honest. You have 2 starting goalkeepers at the moment. Anderson is a decent option, Pedro Porro as well. Richards and Crystal Palace, they have been solid. The same cannot be said for Williams and Nottingham Forest, but you have a starting 4.0 in Esteve, and you will have 8 strong attackers. So I would be tempted to do those moves in game week 6 and then activate my bench boost. When it comes to clean sheet, I mentioned the top 3 anytime goal scorers: Salah, Gyökeres, and Alexander Isak. They are the favorites for anytime goal scorer. Liverpool, they are the favorites to keep a clean sheet. Aston Villa, actually, they are second, while Fulham, they are number 3. Semenyo close to 1 million transfers in. I talked about 10 minutes ago. I think that some of the Semenyo owners will be a bit disappointed. I can actually see a Semenyo blank in game week 5. I had a quick look at Newcastle's defensive stats. Let's have a quick look once again. This is Arsenal's defensive stats. And the reason why I'm not captaining Erling Haaland. The thing is, when we take a look at expected goals conceded, we can see that Arsenal, they are second, only beaten by Newcastle. So Newcastle, they have been really solid. Let's take a look at another team as well. The reason why Chris Wood is my captain. So this is the reason why Chris Wood is my captain. I had a look at the last 4 game weeks. I do this every week in a team selection video, so if you're interested in watching those, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to watch it, it's linked in the description down below as well. It will be really huge support to the channel if you go check those videos out as well. But Burnley, Nottingham Forest opponent in game week 5. They are one of the worst teams defensively. They have kept 1 clean sheet. That's good, but when we take a look at goals conceded, 7, 11 big chances. This is one of the worst teams in the leagues when it comes to conceding big chances. And I think that at some point they will start concede even more goals. So we take a look at expected goals conceded. They have 9.37 and they have only conceded 7 goals. So I think Burnley actually have been a bit lucky, only conceding 7 goals when we take a look at their defensive stats. So hopefully Nottingham Forest and Chris Wood can do well against this Burnley team in game week 5. So I'm leaning towards captaining Chris Wood. As mentioned, if I had Mo Salah, he would probably be my game week 5 captain. Harold Jang, can you rate my team? Vicario, Senesi, Pedro Porro, Munoz and Van Dijk, Palmer, Semenyo, Caicedo, Salah, and Xhaka. And Haaland up front. Dubravka, Anderson with Barnes, and Fraser fixed on the bench. So is this a wildcard team or just your team without using any transfers? Please let me know in the chat, Harold, if this is your wildcard team or if you have any free transfers or any available funds in the bank. It will be kind of easier to give advice. Oh, autocorrect was on Van de Ven instead of Van Dijk. And Pedro Porro, of course. I've used wildcard this game week. Thanks. So let's have a quick look. That's what I've got on my plate for now. So Vicario, Ingle, Dubravka benched. I think this is okay going for Vicario. My only, one of the reasons why I'm not a big Vicario fan is the fact that we can have Van de Ven at 4.5 covering the Spurs defense, while Vicario is priced at 5 million. So of course, if you really want to double up, I think Pedro Porro and Van de Ven is the best option, having 2 attacking defenders, but Vicario is decent. I would probably aim for more Arsenal in this team, to be honest. They have really, really good fixtures from game week 7, so about the sound, my microphone just for some reason gets muted. I was saying that Senesi, I really like him as an option. I would probably go for another goalkeeper instead of tripling up on the Spurs defense. Cole Palmer is a really good option. I would probably have Cole Palmer as well if I wildcarded in game week 5. Semenyo would be in. Salah, I would potentially go without Salah. But at the same time, it's a big risk, especially in game week 5, seeing that he will be the most captain player. So I get the inclusion of Mo Salah in game week 5, but I think that having both Erling Haaland and Mo Salah seeing that you have Granit Xhaka in your starting 11. With this team, I would probably, seeing that you have Anderson, I think it's enough having Elliot Anderson on your bench. I would go Barnes to Josh King, the Fulham midfielder. This would free up some funds to upgrade. Miguel Camilleri, why have you gone Sanchez instead of Dubravka? Both will probably concede, but Dubravka can get save points. I kind of agree, but for me the decision is quite easy because I have Chris Wood in my team, so and I don't have any Man United attackers, so I don't like playing my forwards against my defenders. So if Chris Wood does well, Dubravka will definitely blank, and if Dubravka gets a clean sheet in game week 5, this means that my captain Chris Wood blanks. So for me it makes sense to just start Chris Wood, bench Dubravka, and start Sanchez. Harold Young, but thanks loads for the advice, liked and subscribed. Really appreciated. Thanks for joining in. I'll try to use my free transfer to transfer Munoz or Porro to Timber when Arsenal have easy fixtures. Yeah, that makes sense. I would at least have a plan to get Arsenal players from game week 7. If you go check out Arsenal's fixtures, they are really good going forward. So my plan is to look at a way to upgrade Chris Wood to Gyökeres. I'm really leaning towards just saving my transfer and have 3 free transfers going into game week 6. My initial muted again. This probably is not really sure what's wrong with my microphone today. It's even worse than last week, but my initial plan was to sell Elanga and Sar to bring in Cole Palmer and Josh King, but at the moment I'm leaning towards just saving my transfer, bench Sar, bench Char, bench Elanga, and just play Rodon. So this stream has taught me that I need to do something with my microphone. I actually thought that I had fixed it, but I will have to buy another USB cable for my microphone. So next game week, the next Q&A will be with a new USB cable. Hopefully the sound will be better ahead of game week 6. I will make a game week 6 wildcard video if you're interested. I think that a lot of FPL managers will play their wildcard ahead of the next game week, so hopefully I can get this out by Sunday, something like that. If you're interested in the captain selection and a look at the defensive stats, go check out my team selection video as well. Sandri, thanks for joining in. Bench boost, Dubravka, Reinders, Konsa, Estev. Really don't like it. Thoughts? At least you have 5 starting players in there. Dubravka and Estev. I think this bench boost is decent, especially if you don't have any forest attackers. Konsa and Reinders, both okay options, I'd say. But at least you get the bench boost out of the way. You have 4 starters and you don't have to take hits to play your bench boost. So if I were to use my bench boost this game week, I actually had to take a hit to be satisfied with my team, and I'm not taking a hit to play my bench boost. So I will probably just save a transfer and start Rodon and bench Elanga. I have Wood, so this is one of the reasons why I'm not that tempted to play my bench boosts. Chris Wood or Dubravka, we know one of them will cancel each other out. So I think with those options, considering Reinders has a really tough fixture as well, I will probably just save my bench boosts, to be honest. FPL FOMO, wildcarded Cole Palmer out game week 4, transfer Cole Palmer back in game week 5. Actually, remember you had Cole Palmer in your wildcard team for quite a while, but changed last minute before the game week 4 deadline. So it must have been a bit annoying seeing Cole Palmer return and score. My initial plan has actually been to transfer Cole Palmer in myself ahead of game week 5, but I'm leaning towards just saving my transfer instead of bringing Cole Palmer in. The initial plan was to sell Sar and sell Elanga to bring in Cole Palmer and Josh King, but with the Share injury news, he will probably be out a couple of game weeks. I will probably not be able to play my bench boost. Elanga, I think he will be benched for Newcastle in game week 5, seeing that he started in the Champions League game. So I'm leaning towards just playing 4-3-3 and start Rodon in game week 5. Thoughts about Dewsbury Hall? Good option. Everton, they have some good fixtures coming up. So if you need a player at this price point, I think that he is a good punt. Low ownership as well on some set pieces for Everton. So I think he is a solid option. For me, bench boost is the best when Salah goes to AFCON game week 15, something like that, when we have 5 free transfers. I think this strategy will be quite popular. I have seen it mentioned a couple of times on X as well. So we get 5 transfers. That's really good. And we don't have the option to have Mo Salah. So at the moment, I don't have Mo Salah, so I can't really blame Mo Salah for not having a good bench boost team. But of course, it will be easier to have 15 solid players if you don't have Mo Salah. One Ikwan, yeah, since my first 11, most we play each other like, this is a message I read. I think I'm gonna stick with Anthony. I like Anthony as a punt this game week, and I mentioned it a couple of times already. I think game week 5 is a really good game week to go a bit different with the captaincy. As mentioned, Mo Salah, he will be the most captain player, and he is the safest option. But if you don't, especially if you don't own Mo Salah, I think that taking a punt with the captaincy in game week 5 makes sense. Can you have a look at my team? ID is sure. Let's have a look. Just give me a minute. I think that's good enough. This is Sandra's team. Sanchez in goal, Pedro Porro, Virgil van Dijk, and Munoz. I think that Munoz owners were a bit unlucky in game week 4, to be honest. I think the non-owners like myself got away, seeing that he only got 5 points. Mo Salah, captain, at the same time, a bit unlucky with Munoz. I think that the Salah owners and especially the Salah captainers got a bit lucky. Kudus, I had Kudus as well. Really frustrating watching the Spurs game in game week 4. He definitely should have got a return in that game. Reinders is in, Barnes as well. I think Barnes will start. I talked with a couple of Newcastle fans this week, and the expected starting front line for Newcastle in game week 5 is Barnes on the left, Voltmada as their number 9, and Murphy on the right. So I would start Barnes in game week 5. Up front, Chris Wood, Watkins, and Gyökeres. I think definitely, Sandri, that this team is good enough to just save a transfer, keep it as it is, Xhaka, Konsa, Esteve on the bench. Salah captain makes sense considering that he will be the most captain player and probably out of the premium options has the better fixture, and he is the safest option as well. So I think that you easily can just play this team and save a transfer ahead of game week 5. Oh, and also thoughts about Jack Grealish. Is he performing because Everton was against some decently easy fixtures? Not a natural goal scorer as well. So got me wondering. I think that long term, the best option from the Everton midfield is NGI. I know that Jack Grealish got 4 assists in, was it 2 games? But I can't really see him keep this up. He had actually a big chance in game week 4 as well. Should probably have scored. But if I were to rank the Everton midfielders at the moment, I would say that NGI is number 1, Dewsbury Hall number 2, and I would put Jack Grealish as the 3rd best option from the Everton midfield. I think Caicedo is a really good pick, always gets that high defensive contribution, so 2 bonus points in most games. Cheap with only 5.5 million, and if lucky will get an assist or goal. My take on those players in the 5.5 to 6 million midfield category is that I would probably, especially on a wildcard, I would probably try to avoid this price point. I don't see that much value. Of course, like in game week 4, if we can get attacking returns from Caicedo, he will be really good value, but I really can't see this happen week in, week out, to be honest. But I really agree with the defensive contribution points when it comes to Caicedo, especially he will pick up an extra 2 points. But at the same time, he will never be able to captain Caicedo. So if I were to use my wildcard at the moment, I would probably just go Josh King at 4.5. He's easier to bench as well because of his value, only priced at 4.5. Really easy to just keep him on the bench. I will go for a 6.57 million option instead. Xhaka, Sandri in this team. So this is Sandri's game week 4 team. Will play the same team, save a transfer, captain Mo Salah, Reinders on the bench, and Granit Xhaka in the starting 11. So let's get my team back on the screen once again. I will probably just save. Let's see. I will probably just save a transfer. So my bench will of course be Sar and Fabian Schär. Both injured, will not play in game week 5. Elanga, he will join the bench as well. My plans transfers and my other option is to actually sell both Sar and Elanga to bring in Josh King and Cole Palmer. Let's have a quick poll. So let's have a quick poll. Which option do you think is the best for my team at the moment? Play Rodon or just go vote in the poll. Which option do you prefer with the team on the screen? My initial plan was to sell Sar and Elanga. I don't think Elanga will start in game week 5, so it will potentially be a one-pointer for Elanga in game week 5. He started midweek in the Champions League for Newcastle and will probably be benched in game week 5. So sell Elanga and Sar to bring in Josh King and Cole Palmer. This means I will bench Rodon and play Cole Palmer and bench Josh King as well. I will not play my bench boost, so if I were to use my bench boost, I would have to do an additional transfer to get rid of of Shar, the Newcastle defender. He's injured, picked up a concussion midweek, so to play my bench boost, I would have to take a -4, and it would also mean that I would have to play Dubravka against Chris Wood. So altogether, I'm really leaning towards saving my bench boost. Have you used a triple captain? I have not used my triple captain. Will potentially play my triple captain in game week 6. At the moment, my plan is to play my triple captain in game week 6. The initial plan was to play my bench boost this game week as well, but this will probably not happen. Okay, thanks. Ruff's in goal. Thoughts on captaining him too? Your thoughts? Villa attacking not so great and Sunderland kind of solid at home. Think they will be a dark horse this season. I definitely think that taking a punt and starting him is decent, but I would definitely not captain him for this fixture. But start him, that's fine. But I think you have to have some better captain options in your team. I think, as mentioned a couple of times already on this stream, I think game week 5 is a really, really good game week to take a punt on when it comes to captaincy. But captaining a goalkeeper playing against Aston Villa, I would probably try to avoid that one. Where are you from, by the way? I'm from Norway. Norway, same as Holland, actually. And Martin Ødegaard. Mr. Fizzy Reindeer, who should I bring in instead of Harry Wilson so I can bench Gabriel? I would have 5.5 for a move, and this is for a -4. I would probably avoid the hit, to be honest. I think when it comes to Gabriel, I know that the fixture is really tough, but benching Gabriel, I think that if you have Gabriel in your team, he should probably just play week in, week out. Especially seeing that you're considering taking a hit to transfer in a player in a kind of an awkward price point. I talked about this only 5 minutes ago. I don't really like the 5.5 to 6 million midfield price point. So my advice, Mr. Fizzy Rainer, would be to probably just play Gabriel, save the transfer, avoid the hit. What's your first name? My first name is Eric. Thoughts about Alexander Isak? Will he get 90 minutes and how would he perform? I definitely don't see Alexander Isak playing 90 minutes. I think that Slot said this in the press conference as well, that Alexander Isak is not ready to play 90 minutes. So I think Ekitiki will start game week 5, to be honest, against Everton. I can see Alexander Isak play like 20, 30 minutes, but considering that Isak started midweek, I don't really see him start again in game week 5. Of course, I could be wrong, but at least this is my prediction, and I feel pretty confident in this prediction. I think Ekitiki will start game week 5 with Alexander Isak on the bench. It's quite funny that Alexander Isak, he has actually gone up in price, even though he has not started any games for Liverpool in the Premier League yet. So I got a question about the triple captain. My plan is to play my triple captain in game week 6. One of the reasons is that Man City, they are playing against Burnley, and this is Burnley's defensive stats from the last 4 game weeks. We can see they are definitely one of the worst defensive teams. Only conceded 7 goals. It's not that great conceding 7 goals, but it's 16th in the league. But when we take a look at expected goals conceded, Burnley, they are definitely worst in the league so far. So I think Burnley, they have been a bit lucky, only conceding 7 goals, and they have actually kept a clean sheet, but their stats are still this bad. So this kind of tells us that Burnley, in the 3 other games other than the game they kept a clean sheet, they have been really struggling defensively. So I will probably use my triple captain in game week 6. So if you're interested in watching my team selection video, I go through the best captain options and the best captain punts for ahead of every game week, and I do it with taking a look at their opponent stats from the last 4 game weeks, like you see on the screen. So if that's something you're interested in, go check out my team selection video as well. And if you would like to see more team selection videos and streams like this, kindly subscribe to the channel. Benny G01, should I bench boost even though Murillo a doubt? It kind of depends which other 3 players you will bench boost. Probably one of them is Dubravka. And if you have Chris Wood, it's probably a good idea to just save the bench boost, because Chris Wood will cancel out the Dubravka points. And if Dubravka does well in game week 5, this means that Chris Wood blanks. But let me know which other players you would have on your bench potentially. Okay, got to go now. Thanks for the replies. Have a nice game week and have a nice day. Hope we all get a good green arrow this game week. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for all the good questions and the FPL discussions. Really lovely. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and best of luck for game week 5. I don't have Wood, Dubravka, Josh King, Rodon, and Jusper Hall. Seeing you don't have Chris Wood, Dubravka, he is a decent option. Of course, a starting goalkeeper. King is a good option as well. Rodon with a really good fixture actually for Leeds playing against Wolves, and you have Dewsbury Hall as well. So of course, Everton and Dewsbury Hall not the best fixture playing away against Liverpool, but for a bench boost, just to get the bench boost out of the way, you have 4 starting players. I think you should just play your bench boost with that bench, to be honest. Yeah, you might get injuries, suspensions, stuff like that. So what you don't want is to use transfers just to be able to play your bench boost. So this is, if I were to use my bench boost this game week, I would actually have to use transfers to have 15 starting players. My initial plan was to bench boost, but I will have to delay my bench boost plans. So seeing that you have 15 starters in your team, I think it's fine to just play the bench boost chip and get it out of the way. Hopefully Maria plays. I think that he is in the predicted starting lineup for Nottingham Forest, and his injury wasn't that severe as first expected. He was walking off the pitch. Of course, this is just guesswork, but I think that he will start, especially considering that most Forest fans have him in the starting 11 as well. I'm really hoping that Mario will start myself, to be honest. I have Nico Williams in this picture. I think that the clean sheet odds for Forest significantly improves with Mario starting. So my initial plan was to sell Elanga and Sar to bring in Cole Palmer and Josh King. At the moment, I'm leaning towards just saving my transfer and have Rodon in my starting 11 for game week 5. This would mean that I go into game week 6 with 3 free transfers. I will potentially look at a way to upgrade Chris Wood to Gyökeres, especially ahead of game week 7. My captain in game week 5 will be Chris Wood. My initial plan, as mentioned, was to bring in Cole Palmer and captain him, but at the moment I'm leaning towards just saving my transfer, and if I do this, Chris Wood will be my captain. So thanks for everyone who joined in on this stream. Really enjoyed it. So hopefully all of you will get green arrows in game week 5. I have to go soon, but if you have any last questions, just write in the chat. Play Senesi or Gudmundsson. Senesi or Gudmundsson. I think I would chase both form and fixture. When it comes to both Senesi and Gudmundsson, I think that Leeds actually they have good defensive form and they definitely have the best fixture. So I would actually play Gudmundsson ahead of Senesi in game week 5. Best of luck, FPL Lisa. If you're interested, go check out her videos as well. Really good videos covering most topics about every game week, like free hit drafts, wildcards, transfers, captaincy, stuff like that. So If you want another perspective, go check those videos out as well. And if you're interested, go check out my team selection video if you want to take a look at the best captain options ahead of game week 5. Start Dubravka or Petrovic. I can see the temptation of going. It's kind of a hard question. 2 tricky questions. I would go probably. It kind of depends. Do you have any of your attackers playing against Burnley or against Bournemouth? This, I would definitely start the goalkeeper that you don't have any attackers playing against. So if you have any players from Nottingham Forest or Newcastle, if you don't have any attackers from those teams, I would probably, no fixture clashes, I would, it's kind of hard. I'm tempted to say Dubravka, but at the same time, I will put it up one last time. When we take a look at those stats for Burnley, they have only conceded 7 goals and they have kept a clean sheet already. But when we take a look at big chances conceded, shots on target conceded, and expected goals conceded, I think at some point Burnley will start conceding a lot more goals. They have been a bit lucky, only conceding 7 goals. So I can see the temptation of benching Petrovic and starting Dubravka. Nottingham Forest haven't really looked that great this season compared to last season, but I think that Burnley potentially can struggle against Nottingham Forest, especially if Forest gets an early goal in this fixture. Burnley can easily concede 3-4 goals against them. So I would, seeing that you bench Senesi as well, I would probably just hedge my bet and start Petrovic. Gudmundsson, Petrovic with Dubravka and Senesi on the bench. I haven't mentioned this yet on this stream, but if you're interested in joining the head-to-head mini league, the link is in the description down below. It's down in the scrolling text as well, the code for the league, so it would be really, really fun if more people join the new head-to-head league. I think the scoring will start in game week 5, so last time I talked about the head-to-head league, I got a couple of questions about what a head-to-head league is, and it's basically like regular Premier League. You get drawn against an opponent, and the team with most points in that given game week will get 3 points. If you score the same amount of points as your opposition, it will be a draw, and each team will be given 1 point each. So in the head-to-head league, playing for bragging rights. Let's have a quick look at how many entries this league has at the moment. So the problem with my league, my head-to-head league at the moment is that I made a league ahead of game week 2, I think it was, but somehow I managed to press the close for entries, so it wasn't possible to join that one. But so I have 2 different head-to-head leagues. We are four entries so far. The link is in the description down below if you're interested. Let's have a look at the classic league as well. I haven't really counted the entries on my classic mini league. I'm not doing that great, to be honest. I'm number 213 in my own league. That's kind of embarrassing. I don't really like the format on the new FPL page as well. Kind of hard fitting it into live streams like this. But in the classic FPL league, it's 249 entries. That's quite good, but if you're interested, go join the new head-to-head mini league. So this was my team for game week 4. 74 points, decent game week. Green arrow, captaincy on Holland. Disappointing from Chris Wood, of course, Elanga as well. Decent week for my defenders. Pedro Porro clean sheet, Van de Ven clean sheet and goal. And Fabian Schär, he picked up defensive contribution points and a clean sheet. Wirtz, really disappointing. I actually took a punt on Wirtz, transferred in Wirtz for that Burnley fixture in game week 4, but he disappointed. Hopefully he can do something in game week 5. So my transfer plans this game week was to sell Elanga and the injured Sar, who's on my bench, but at the moment I'm leaning towards just keeping those players, saving my transfer, and play Rodon in game week 5. Let's finish by taking a quick look at how that looks. FPL Lisa, I joined the league. Thanks. I hope that there will be some interesting ties going forward. Of course, I mostly join classic leagues, but I fancy having a couple of head-to-head leagues as well. So hopefully we can get even more people to join that league later on. So this is my team for game week 5. We'll probably just save a transfer, bench Fabian Schär, bench Sar, and bench Elanga. Start with a 4-3-3 with Rodon in my starting 11. This was not my initial plan. I had a plan to bench boost and bring in Cole Palmer this game week, but we'll probably just save a transfer. Reinders or Dewsbury Hall. Considering the fixtures, I would probably go Reinders, especially if you like need a player in that price point at the moment, and if you're playing your wildcard. I know Man City, they have a tough fixture in game week 5 playing against Arsenal, but overall I think Reinders is the better option. Midweek in the Champions League, we saw that Reinders actually were taking a couple of free kicks as well, so if Reinders will start most games and if he is on some set pieces, I think that he is a really, really good option at 5.7. So I would potentially just go Reinders ahead of Dewsbury Hall, considering the fixtures and the fact that he plays for the better team. Thanks, no worries. Hopefully he will do well for you going forward. I definitely hope that Dewsbury Hall don't really smash it in the coming game weeks. I think at least both of them have really tough fixtures. I can't really see neither Reinders or Dewsbury Hall do well in game week 5. Two of the toughest fixtures so far this season for any team. But we know Man City, they can do well against anyone. The Liverpool-Everton game, Merseyside derby, I think anything can actually happen in this game as well. But long-term, Reinders would be my pick. I'm actually I started making some graphics for game week 6 wildcard video already. I will have to monitor how game week 5 pans out to see if there are any injuries and stuff like that. But I can mention this early that Reinders, he is in one of my game week 6 wildcard drafts. But thanks for joining in. Thanks for all the questions. Best of luck for game week 5. And hopefully I'll see you next time. I will have a deadline stream ahead of game week 6 as well. I will post a wildcard video, and I will post, as always, a weekly team selection video ahead of game week 6. So if you're interested, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on those videos. But for now, thanks for watching. Have a nice evening and good weekend. And as mentioned, best of luck for game week 5.